captain. We are Group 11. My team consists of Yahya, Khalid, and Vitalis. We're here to talk to you guys about AirAsia. Let me ask you guys a question. How many of you guys have traveled with JetBlue, Spirit, Southwest Airlines? Show of hands. All right, so you guys know what a low-cost carrier. Those are pretty much the operations they consist of. And as you can see by the logo, not everyone can fly. This is kind of what AirAsia wanted to do in the Asian continent. Our agenda for today is as follows. I'll give you guys a background information on the company. Yahya is going to speak about the central challenge that AirAsia is facing. Khalid will give us a SWOT analysis, and Vitalis will give us our manager's alternative that we think are best for AirAsia. So background information on AirAsia. It was founded in 1996 as Malaysia's second airline. It was founded by a conglomerate in the country. The first 5 years were really negative, not good results. It was really going towards bankruptcy, a lot of debt. So in 2001, they put the company up for sale. They offered it to investors. Tony Fernandez and his group bought the company for 26 cents, but they also took 50% of the liabilities, which accumulated to $11 billion. So basically, the company cost $11 million and 26 cents. Conor McCarthy is also co-founder of the company. So he basically changed it from being a regular airline to a low-cost carrier with the idea of no frills. By no frills, I mean no overhead compartment, no extensive leg room, no different classes, no first class, no economy class, no screens on the seats, no food, very simple service. It's like you're riding on a bus and you're going from New York City to New Jersey, just like that. And then they started in 2002, so they relaunched the whole idea of the company. They started in 2002 operating with 3 Boeing B737 aircraft. These aircraft had the capacity of about 175 people. Like I said, all the seats were exactly the same. And then in 2005, they changed it to the Airbus A320, which was more fuel efficient and it was, had a larger capacity. These are the first 3 aircraft that they started off with. So this is like the beginning of the venture. Just to give you guys some background information on the co-founders, Tony Fernandez, he was at Warner Music Group in Asia. With the dot-com bubble, the music business really went down the drain, basically. So he decided to pursue his dream of having his own airline. And then you have Conor McCarthy. He was leader at, he was head of the group of Ryanair. Ryanair is the biggest low-cost carrier in Europe. It's an Ireland-based company. So here you have 2 people who, well, one dream is to own an airline but has no experience about it, and one has a lot of experience. So desire and experience, basically. However, from these 2 people, you get so much. Now you need financial help to, make these things happen. So this is Tony Fernandez's quote about Credit Suisse. No one believes that I get AirAsia off the ground. No one except Credit Suisse. Credit Suisse has been critical for every operation that AirAsia has done throughout its existence. At first, in 2001, they raised capital through debt. Credit Suisse gave AirAsia, mainly Tony Fernandez, a $30 million loan. And then in 2004, they helped AirAsia raise capital through equity by IPO of $225 million. So basically, you give equity to the public, and they give you money. So at first, the $30 million you owe back to Credit Suisse, and the $225 million you're getting from the shareholders. They also advised AirAsia into not going into options that would negatively affect them, such as hedging fuel. Basically, let's say I was last year in October, and I saw that crude oil was $80, and I wanted to buy a futures contract where I'll buy it today for the same price, $80, because I think that prices of oil are going to go up. But in reality, today's price of oil is $53. So if I would have lost $30 per barrel of oil if I would have purchased that futures contract. So these are the kind of options that Credit Suisse was like, no, get out, the market's gonna go down, don't do that. Now, the expansion in Asia, it was kind of complicated. They were operating just in Malaysia, so they wanted to attract the whole Southeast Asia. How to do that? Well, governments in Thailand, Indonesia, they had regulations where no foreign company can have control of any airline industry in the country. So they had to do joint ventures with government conglomerates such as, to spend in Thailand, Thailand had to have 60% of the equity of Thai AirAsia, just like that Indonesia, Japan, and other countries. And then they established AirAsia X, which is the long-haul operations. AirAsia carries up to 4 hours, and AirAsia X goes from 4 hours, so on. This is a map of the locations that they serve as of 2007. As you guys can see, from 2004 to 2005, you see that double increment. That is due to the IPO. So that's the reason why companies raise an IPO. They need the capital to expand quickly, and look at that. It went from 26 to 52. They basically doubled their operations within 1 year, mainly due to the IPO. Now they have them talk to you guys about the central challenge that AirAsia is facing.
Okay, so how are you? So moving on, our main challenge is how to expand globally while maintaining status as leading low-cost carrier. If you look at this, this is a challenge, and we're really supposed to talk about an issue, but this is a unique challenge. Why? Because this challenge will lead to issue if it's not taken care of right away, or if it's not tackled. Because we have a lot of competitors around us, and they're growing, they're low cost, they're expanding. If we don't expand, we will be left behind, and we don't want that. Because our vision is to grow and be number one. So I'm going to talk about how deregulation, liberalization, and privatization led to joint ventures, bilaterals, and alliances. I'm going to walk you through it. Just before the regulation and liberalization and other privatizations, everything was regulated by the government. Such as seat capacity was regulated by the government, the routes and the fares, everything was regulated by the government. We didn't have any competition. It was very restricted. Now, for example, after the main phase was the Airline Deregulation Act of 1978. Even though it happened in different countries in different paces, this was the main one. It gave a few things: freedom to set seat capacities and routes. Also, it gave entry for the new airlines, and also the main thing is it gave the other airlines to reduce their prices. It gave them option to reduce the prices. Now, these characteristics were causing a competition. How? Companies coming in, low prices. Now they're competing with trying to keep the service at the best, and the prices are low. What was this causing? This was giving a really good opportunity for the customers. They were like laying back, like, okay, this is good, getting low prices, best price. But this was pressuring the legendary airlines. How? If you look at it, they were there already for a long time. They had high overhead costs. So what they had to do is they had to change their entire internal structure. And that was going to be tough. And they couldn't do that. It was going to be too expensive. So what they did is they looked for alternatives, which were alliances, joint ventures, and bilaterals. And that's how the regulation, liberalization, and privatization led to alliances, joint ventures, and bilaterals. Now, we're going to talk about, basically, this is what Jonathan talked about, the no frills, just in more detail. Because there was no food, the kitchen was wiped out. That caused 20% more seats. And then there were no air bridges. Everybody was getting off on the ground on the airport and then walking or going with the bus. So that's how they cut the costs. Also, the business class was also taken out, which gave more single seats. Now, this thing right here is don't judge a book by its cover thing, because when you look at it first time, you'll be like, wow, it's a lot of stuff. But if you look closely, this is talking about everything from raw material all the way to the customer use. So how everything is processed. Michael Porter put this in 3 words. He said, value chain is what describes the competitiveness of a company, the customer value, how the customers value the company, and the low cost. This describes AirAsia's competitive advantage, customer value, and low cost. Now, I know this looks very complicated, but hang on with me. We're going to be starting from the bottom and going to the top. But however, I'm not going to talk about the top. I'm just going to mention the bottom. So let's mention a few things. Inbound. Let's talk about the route planning. AirAsia has the most diverse, most wide routes in the ACEA and countries. They're also expanding at the same time. Well, talking about their fuel management, currently they have the Airbus A320, which is already fuel efficient, but recently they ordered the Airbus A320 Neo, which is 15% more fuel efficient. So AirAsia is not only low cost, they're continuing to be more low cost in more creative and innovative ways. And talking about the outbound, let's talk about the commission payment. Commission payment can be related to the tickets and the sales. How? Because ticket sales for AirAsia, 80% has been on the website. What does that do for the commissions? It cuts commissions for the travel agents. So that their marketing strategy through online is very unique. They usually use humor. They mock sometimes, so it's very funny and sometimes very catchy. So this is what that is. Now let's look at this map. This is basically a picture of what I've been saying, our challenge and issue. So for, if you see the two green dots, that's where AirAsia is already flying, and the red dots is where we need to fly. This is our challenge. And like I said, if we don't take care of this, it will become an issue. Now these are our competitors out there, a lot of them. Yeah, that's a lot. Now you guys get an idea. It's a big battlefield. Everybody's trying to cut the low cost. Everybody's trying to expand. We're not the only ones. So this challenge is an issue. So let's just look at this. If you, this is a chart that shows you operating cost per company. Just to recap quickly, you see on the right side these numbers, per cents. If the cents are above 40 cents, it's not really a big deal for us because we are AirAsia number one, 0.034. If it's below 40, then that company can be a threat for us. Now take a look at AirAsia. They're at 0.038. They're not only a potential threat, they're actually a legit threat because their length is higher than us, cost is a little bit higher, but if we expand this, AirAsia will be our main challenge, main threat. Now I'll be passing on to Khalid. We'll talk about the SWOT analysis.
Thank you, Yahya. Good morning, guys. So I'm going to talk about the SWOT analysis. And I'm going to start off with the strength. So AirAsia has a strong management team with strong links with the government and other airline industries. Jonathan was mentioning about how AirAsia has a great diverse background of great executives. And for example, Connor McCarthy was an executive who helped AirAsia get back to business after the company was going bankruptcy almost. And strategy, the second strength is the strategy execution and formulation. AirAsia has followed other low-cost companies in the US and Europe, and Yahya was talking about their operational management. They don't have no frills and no other services, only necessities. And they also linked with other service providers such as hotels and car renters in their strategy. And their brand name is very well established in the Pacific Asia, and a lot of people know about it. The ticket can cost up to $30, and it's pretty competitive. So it has eliminated almost all other transportations, and their local presence in a few countries such as Indonesia and in Thailand has also allowed the company to promote its brand beyond just Malaysia. They also have plenty of promotional strategies, such as through newspapers, hotels, hospitals, and they even have a card called Asia Citibank credit card. And then the last strength is excellent utilization of IT. A couple of years ago, a customer would go to a store in order to purchase a ticket. Nowadays, you can just go to their website and book up a ticket through their website. And I'm gonna move on to weaknesses. So they have limited services and production and products due to cost strategy. And they have high level of customer complaints. So, for example, if you miss the flight, there is no refund. And turn around the flights. There is a lot of place for in that. And the operational policies, procedures, and that's the last weakness. And this is just a model to give you a sense of their strategy. They have simple product, no frills, and then low operation cost, and then the positioning, and all combines as a low-cost carrier. And move on to opportunities. So the government, one of the opportunities is government funding of infrastructure. Malaysia knows that if they have an airline company, it's gonna boost their economy and it's gonna offer a lot of employment. And a few substitutes. Like I said, their tickets can be up to $30, and that has eliminated a lot of competitors. An increased population of middle class Asia. That's a great news for AirAsia because it means a lot of people will be able to afford buying airplane tickets. And the last one is removal of subsidies and tax expenditures. The threats. So sometimes a company can have external threats such as departure charges, security charges, and landing charges, which are beyond their control. And that's bad news. That's a threat for them because they are known to be a low-cost company. A threat of potential entrance and rivalry within the industry. So there is Singapore Airlines, and it's competing with AirAsia, and they are pretty much offering the same prices. And they have almost taken a lot of customers from AirAsia. Increase in fuel prices around the world. Fuel prices go up and down. Now they are down, but they will go up again, and I hope not. So that's a threat for AirAsia since it's a low-cost airline company. And then the last threat is bargaining power of suppliers and customers. And I'd like to pass it on to Vitalis to give you an alternative management.
Hi guys, I will be talking to you about the management alternative we came up with. So far so good, we came up with 5 alternatives. And the first alternative is for AirAsia to form a joint venture. The second alternative is for them to operate out of a secondary airport. So they can, if their route is in Malaysia, they can operate in London and create routes over everywhere and operate in the airport. And the third alternative is to remove the no-free and offer more on-board service. The fourth alternative is for them to co-share. Co-sharing is a method whereby you come to agreement with other airlines, for example, Singapore Airlines, Emirates, and when a passenger book a flight for Emirates, AirAsia can take that passenger to his destination. So that is co-sharing. So they make some money from that, and that can allow them to expand quickly. And also, last is to create new routes around the world. What I mean by creating new routes around the world, airlines like low-cost airlines like to fly a point-to-point route, whereby, for example, I don't know much about Americans, so I will use Nigeria and Africa. So we create a route in Ghana, we create a route in Nigeria, we create a route in Benin. That is a point-to-point route. We can travel those routes really quick. If we have a problem in Nigeria, we can order a flight really quick from Ghana to pick those passengers up. So it's a point-to-point, very quick and very active. And if you spread your route around the world, you cannot have complaints. It will eliminate like customer problems and stuff like that. But what we came up together with is that those other 4 options under AirAsia forming a joint venture is not good for AirAsia to expand globally. And we decided to make a joint venture. But who are we going to make this joint venture with? There are so many low-cost airlines out there, but they are our competitors, right? But we need somebody who have expertise, who have experience. How will we do that? So we decided that we will make a joint venture with Virgin Group. Why? Because Virgin Group is a very large airline company. They operate 4 different airlines. One is the Virgin Atlantic, which go long up. The other one is Virgin Express, and the other one is Virgin Blue and Virgin USA. Because these are the locations we're going to develop. These are the locations we want to expand to. And we think that Virgin Group is good for us because it's a very big company and it has a lot of expertise. For example, like what Jonathan and Yahya said already, when you bring 2 different people with 2 different expertise, join them together, then you make a new company. And bringing a new company together, those companies cannot die. It's very hard for a company to leave business. New entity don't leave business because they have a lot of expertise. And we also come up with our entry mode. How are we going to join venture with these people? So we decide that we use an equity joint venture. But what percentage are we going to contribute in the equity. So we decided that AirAsia take a majority role because we want to reap a lot of profit. We don't want to be the minority. We want to control because we know we have the management skills and we have all the expertise. Joining with Veggie Group, we know we're going to benefit from their own expertise, but we want to control because we know how to do business. You understand? So that's why we decided to take a majority role and also contributing more to the investment. And forming a joint venture is a good thing, but there is always a bad thing behind it. And we talk about the pros and cons. One of the pros is contributing valuable expertise. The second one is spreading operational risk. I'm going to emphasize on spreading operational risk and owner's risk a little bit, so you get a clear picture why joint venture can be hard sometimes to form. So spreading operational risk might be, we don't control fuel price in the world, right? So right now, fuel price is done in USA, but it's not done in Africa. The fuel price there is twice what you buy there in US right now. So it's very high over there. Because when the dollar goes up, over there in Africa, things go really, really bad more. That's how it works. They are contradicting. They don't work the same way. So that is a risk, that is operational risk. We allow AirAsia to share that kind of risk with Veggie Group. And the other is, the other problem is owner risk. And the owner risk, we're going to focus on the micro-political risk. For example, what happened in Cuba? If government, for example, try to confiscate our business, who will lose? If only AirAsia goes to that country, AirAsia loses everything. And that can impact their existing business. So, but if they share those owner risks with Veggie Group, then they won't impact their other business. They can still keep on moving ahead. And the last is access to a global market to use for any existing airline to dominate. You can't certify everybody, no. But when you join two heads together, those who like this one come together, those who like this one come together, then will form a good majority market. For example, if you join Apple and Samsung together, no other phone is going to sell in the world because that's the only two phone people use. So that is the pros for making a joint venture. But they also have a cons, and I'm going to simplify things here by talking about only two, which I find really, really important. Requiring major change in operation. That is one big problem. They might force AirAsia to change their no-free strategy to applying a free, meaning offering ultimate, giving passenger entertainment such as watching and cables on the flight, and that can increase the cost back. So that's a very bad cons in making a joint venture. And also require major new investment. When I say new investment, meaning that how we're going to fund this new entity. By funding new entity, meaning we have to borrow money. We have to go to financial institute to borrow money for bigger planes. And the last one is loss of operational independence. When you make joint venture, you are not more operating the business yourself. You are operating it with a partner. So before you make decision, you have to consult your partner. Also, the profit, the revenue, and everything, you guys have to share together. So there is a loss of operational independence in joint venture. And thank you so much.
Okay, so any questions just for clarification?